It kind of feels weird to be recording this, honestly, just because the last however many episodes I recorded all together. So I haven't actually sat down and recorded for like 3 weeks, which is nice on my end because I got a little bit of a break, a little bit of time to just focus on life stuff. Oh, my jaw just like, I don't know if you could hear that. I gotta get that fixed. Anyways, I got a little bit of a chance to just do my own thing, which was nice, and take a little break as I'm getting used to being back in classes, which is weird because spring break is already coming up really fast, which is crazy. When I'm recording this, I think it's like 3 weeks away, which is insane to me. But yeah, I still feel like I'm just getting into the swing of things, which it's been really nice to have that time to work on that. So this week we're doing something a little bit different. I think I've maybe done this before on one of my other episodes. Oh, my phone won't open. Okay. But I wanted to do it in a YouTube form, and I wanted to answer all of your questions. So I put a question box up on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram so you can do this next time. And make sure to subscribe here so you don't miss the next one. And I put a question box up, and I just said, anything, ask away. And I got a good amount of responses, so we're gonna just go through it. And yeah, the first one is, what motivates you to get up in the morning? Well, I have to get up for class, so that's already one thing there that I just kind of have to. But I also have just always known that I'm a morning person. That's just who I am. I just do so much better in the morning. I don't always want to get up in the morning, but I know that like if I don't get up right away in the morning consistently, I just don't feel good during the day. That's just always how I've been, is that I just know that I do better when I get up early. And I mean, that itself kind of motivates me because I know that if I don't, I'm not going to be feeling well. Like I can go every, a few days here and there. I can go on the weekend with getting up a little bit later, but if I do it consistently, I just don't feel good. So it's kind of, honestly, it's kind of just like I get in the routine of waking up early, and then if I get out of that routine, I start to feel bad pretty quickly, and I kind of have to force myself to get back into it because it's like, okay, well, I either get up early in the morning and feel okay, or I feel bad, but I get to sleep in, That's just kind of how I have been. I also, knowing the person who sent this one in, they are a little bit shocked whenever I talk about the fact that I go to bed at 9:30 or 10:30 every night, and I wake up at 6:30 every morning. Sometimes 6. So I know that that's what they're referencing here. And yes, I do. That is true. Like I said, I just do better that way. And I am such a, 9:30 is late for me. I think it's because the scheduling video that I had before, I talk about the fact that after 5 p.m.-ish, I kind of schedule that time off for doing whatever I need to do. And then at 8 p.m., it's I'm done, I am done. So by 9:30 or 10, I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go to bed. I had my me time. I'm ready to go to bed. Sometimes I don't have the motivation to get up, especially on the weekends. Some days it just doesn't happen, and I just stay in bed the majority of the day. And honestly, I could come up with reasons that make me want to get out of bed every morning, and be like, oh, well, I just look forward to this every day. No, I don't look forward to my classes every day. I look forward to the weekend. But honestly, I guess I just have a routine, and I guess I know what it feels like to not get up, and I know how I don't feel good. So it's more what motivates me is knowing that I feel better doing that. What motivates me is knowing that I have a routine that I'm keeping. And a trick that I do is if I don't have an alarm set, I don't get out of bed, or it takes me a long time to get out of bed. So what I'll do is I'll actually set my alarm for a few minutes before I know I usually wake up. So then it wakes me up. And I don't know if this is a thing or not, but for me, if I have an alarm and it kind of shocks me awake, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to fall back asleep again. Let me just get out of bed. That's my little ramble there. Ooh. Okay, we're going to get right in here right now. Do I want to answer that now, or... You know what? I'm just going to go in order. So yeah, next question is, what would you say to someone who is recovering from a toxic relationship? This is big. And I posted something on one of my Instagram posts kind of recently for Valentine's Day. And I had said something about the fact that I am still recovering from a toxic relationship that I was in. And I don't talk about it online very often because I prefer to keep the details to myself. And quite honestly, I don't think that that's anything that people really need to know about. But I do think that it is something important to talk about because I know that so many people go through it. And I know that I'm not alone in that. And I felt very alone in it for a while. And I still do, if I'm being completely honest. So I don't know what specific type of relationship is being talked about in this question, but I do know that, at least from my experience, what I can say is that it's not easy. And I think the most important thing is you're not making it up. You are not making it up at all, and you don't deserve to be treated the way that you're being treated. I don't really want to get into much detail again on my specific instance. I've had toxic friendships and a toxic relationship, so I kind of know both of those sides of it. And I guess for me, the biggest thing is to set your boundaries and also to not beat yourself up for it. All of the times that I've been in a toxic situation, I didn't realize it at first. If anything, I thought that it was quite the opposite. And it's not to say that it was toxic from the very beginning. Like, the relationship that I was in was wonderful until it wasn't anymore. And I stayed really quiet on that because I thought that it was something that I was doing wrong. And I thought that it was something that I just needed to fix. And so even my closest friends didn't know about it at the time. And it wasn't till after when I would mention a few things and people would be like, wait a second. That's not right. So even in the moment, like, I remember looking back and I can read the text messages that I had to my mom. I can read the, journal entries that I had written when I wasn't feeling well and all these things. Like, it was clear in the moment, but I didn't know it. Like, I look back and I was saying the things that I am working on in counseling right now. Like, I knew that it was going in that direction. But I didn't know that. Like, I knew it deep down, but I didn't want to acknowledge it because I think a lot of times when we're in a toxic situation, no matter if it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, anything, you want to believe in the best in someone, especially if you've seen that best in them. You want to believe that they, you want to really be like, wait, but I know who they are deep down, or I know who they can be. But that doesn't take away what's happening in the moment. And I had a really hard time recognizing that. And my pattern, at least, in all of these situations was to let it go as far as it possibly could until it got bad enough that, like, I had to leave. So my advice and what I would say to someone is that you're not alone. I've gone through it. I'm still recovering from it so much. Valentine's Day was really hard for me this year, I have to say. I mean, I had so much fun, but especially the day after, it was just really hard for me because I just had so many memories coming up. Be kind to yourself. If you think it is toxic, do your best to get away from it, please. If you think, or if you know that it's not good for you, there is nothing wrong with stepping away. There's nothing wrong with asking for help if you don't feel like you can step away. I am sending my heart out to you. I was dealing with a lot of emotional stuff and manipulation, and I don't wish that on anyone. And I am sending you so many hugs right now and so many best wishes. What makes you feel most at home? I think I'm just gonna go quick on this one, but my family. Honestly, being with my family and being with myself and having the opportunity to spend time with myself and continue to get to know myself. Do you feel successful, or do you believe in success as a concept? Whoa. Yes, I do. But I don't think that success is what we always think of it as. A lot of times when I think of like, oh, who's a successful person, like especially just like when I was younger, I would think of like, oh, someone who's got a good job, someone who's paid well, someone who is respected, someone who's this and that, It's not about those tangible things. It's not about those things that are clear and easy to see. I think that being successful is staying true to yourself and living life the way that you want to live it. So, yes, I feel successful, and I still have a long ways to go. I am so proud of myself and so happy and grateful that this community has been built, but I still have a long ways to go too. And I have a lot of goals for myself that I, whether it be business wise or whether it just be personal life or school or anything like that, like I have a lot of goals for myself still. And I don't think that you can ever reach that place where you can feel like, okay, I'm successful, I did it, I can be done now, right? I think that there's always something we're going towards, even if it's just as simple as, hey, I want to be a better person. Or, hey, I want to get to know myself more. Hey, I want to just learn to respect people more. Like there's always something that we could be doing, even if it's as simple as I just want to build a new hobby. So, yes, I do think that success is a thing, but I don't think that it's a purely a destination. I think that it's the journey that gets us there. Okay, let's see. Best memories from college. Well, I'm still there. But so far, I think some of the best memories that I've had are getting out and doing things with people, and also being able to recognize my limits and my boundaries, and just making new friends. That has, I think, been the most exciting part for me, is the fact that I get to meet all of these new people. And I'm constantly meeting new people. And I'm also really enjoying what I learn. Like never and ever did I think that I would be double majoring in economics. Like I knew nothing about econ at all. And now it is one of my majors. Like I have just started learning a lot about myself, and I feel like that has been really empowering for me too. But I'm also trying to get out and do things a little bit more, because I kind of have a routine. I kind of already, I know myself. I know how I like to do things, that I also want to just push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit more, get out and do things, try new things. Yeah, I think I've just really enjoyed the time that it's a time to explore. It's a time to get to know yourself, and there's so many opportunities, and I've been really enjoying that. What is one thing that you would go back and change about your transition to college? Okay. If I'm being completely honest, nothing. And those who have been following me for a while know that is a little bit surprising, because I had to take a medical leave of absence because I was having some learned responses from PANDAS disorder. If you haven't watched that video, it is on my channel. And so I had to take a medical leave of absence my first semester because I was just having too many medical issues to do it. I couldn't. And I am really glad that I took that leave of absence. I was really, really hard on myself for it, but I am really glad that I did it. So I would say, no, I wouldn't change anything about my transition. Do I wish it was easier? Oh yeah. But it taught me a lot of things that I needed to learn, and it taught me how to move forward. And so no, I don't think I would change anything about my transition to college. My senior year of high school was also really hard. I was dealing with a lot of bullying, and I struggled a lot that year too. And so I feel like my transition was from the middle of my senior year of high school to the spring semester of the next year. It was a good year of transition, I think. But no, I wouldn't change it, because all of those things taught me something. That doesn't mean that I'm glad those things happened, but I don't think that I would change it, because I wouldn't be quite the same as I am now without those things, if that makes sense. How do you best balance eunoia, extracurriculars, and academics? It's a big one. My friends tell me I don't have enough homework. I really attribute it to, I have always been pretty good with time management, and I have to recognize that. I'm really lucky that that's just the way that I am. But I also have to shout out my high school a little bit there, because they really prepared you for college. Especially my AP US history class, shout out to my teacher who taught that. She was incredible, and she gave us so much work. And I am incredibly grateful for that, because that was when I learned. Before, I did like 200% on every project, every assignment. I wanted everything to be perfect. I always got straight A's. I needed everything to be exactly perfect. And I learned that junior year that I could do only a fraction of that work, and I could still succeed and get the same grade that I would have gotten otherwise. So I was always striving for my straight A's, my 4.0. That was the only class I did not get an A+ in. I got an A- in it, you guys. Graduated with a 3.98. Like, the point of this is, I'm not saying that I didn't take school lightly at all. And so I was really, really hard on myself. I pushed myself a lot, and that class really taught me the time management and recognizing that I couldn't read every single word on the page that I was reading. I couldn't read everything. I couldn't ace my test completely, and I had to take some wins and some losses there. So now being in college, I've learned that, actually a few, I'll be completely honest, the first day or the first week or two of my classes, when I have a new class every semester, I will actually slack. I will purposefully not let myself do as well on an assignment or on a reading or anything like that as I know I can, because I tend to be an overachiever when it comes to that. So I will end up slacking on it, and I will purposefully not do as much as I think I should be doing. And I'll end up getting to the class and realize, wait a second, it's fine. Even if you're not an overachiever or a perfectionist like I am, you cannot do everything that the professor is asking you to do. And so I will just actually be like, nope, okay, I'm not going to do it. And then I'll get to the class and realize, wait, I still understood what we were talking about. Or, hey, this was a struggle for me, but this wasn't. And it just kind of forces me to figure out, okay, what do I actually need to do for the class? And what do I not need to do? You got to get to know your professors. You got to figure out how that all works out and everything. That's how I balance the school part of it. Most days after 5 p.m., I try not to really have anything mainly crazy scheduled for me, because I do like to have that free time, and then that, can be extracurriculars. It can be something else. It can be whatever I want it to be. But I also schedule the time that I work on my schoolwork. I schedule the time that I work on my schoolwork for during the day. And then if I don't get that done, then I use that free time that I had scheduled off for more of the homework. Scheduling homework and scheduling free time are the biggest things for me that I think that really make the biggest difference there. And then eunoia is a whole other thing. Eunoia ends up happening in the evenings and weekends. That's why, if you haven't noticed, most of the episodes that I record are in the evenings, which actually just end up working out better because my roommate is usually gone eating dinner or studying or doing something in the evenings. So it's the perfect time for me to record this because it's the only time I'm in the room and she's not. And the weekends, which are nice, I'm able to get some time to work on that too. In terms of recording and stuff, I try not to have stuff scheduled for the weekend too much so that I can have that time available if I need to. This weekend I'm going to be gone, so I'm recording on Friday afternoon instead of being out with people. But I love it, so I love doing it. And then in terms of the behind the scenes, the logistics, the getting everything figured out, I do that during the day. I kind of go back and forth between my homework and stuff. I try to do most of my homework at the beginning of the week on Mondays and Tuesdays so that I can get the rest of it done on, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. yeah, it kind of just, I don't know, it just kind of works itself out. I've kind of figured out a routine for it, but it took me a really long time to figure it out. But also all of this is to say, I've always been a very, like, I like to schedule things. I like to immediately when I get an assignment, get it done. I had an essay the other day that was due. I got it assigned and it was due in over a week, and I got it done the day that it was assigned. Like maybe 2 hours after it was assigned. So this is me being an overachiever. Please do not strive to be me if that is not you. Like, if you don't work this way, don't force yourself to work this way, please. It's just how I work best. I just tend to have the motivation during the daytime. You know, anytime from 9 a.m. to maybe like 3 p.m. I have more motivation. So I just like cram everything in between classes, during classes, after classes. I just try and get everything done then. And then, I don't know, it's just how I am. I would be interested in sitting down and trying to figure out a specific schedule that I do there. Send in any questions that you have about my schedule, because this seems to be a common question that I get. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how I do it. I'm a neuroscience and econ double major, so it's not like I don't have a lot of stuff going on. But I don't know. I guess it's just how I am. Like people ask me what my hobbies are, and my hobby is Eunoia. My hobby is learning, and my hobby is also, watching my show and going outside for walks and stuff like that. Like, I have hobbies, but one of my biggest hobbies is honestly Eunoia, and it also happens to be my business too. So I think it looks like I do a lot more than I do. It probably looks like, wow, you've got a business, you're a double major in college, you're doing all of these things, like, wow, that's crazy. But, how many times do you see college students going out and spending time with friends or trying a new activity? Like, college is the time that you get to explore yourself and try new things and do those things. So I do try new things, and I do, but like one of my big hobbies is Eunoia. So it's not necessarily like I feel like I'm working when I'm doing Eunoia. I just feel like I'm having some free time and enjoying one of my hobbies. That was a really long ramble, but I hope that answered the question. I guess it's just who I am. If you can relate, let me know in the comments, please, because I kind of sometimes think that I'm just a little bit different. Okay, so kind of along the business lines here, what challenges did you face when you were establishing your business? A lot of comparison. I'm trying to think about it in terms of the actual length of Eunoia from when I say it started versus when it actually became an LLC, because it only became an LLC like a few months ago. I didn't have the name for it until about 2 years ago-ish. But I say that it started in 2019 because that was when the idea kind of came up. And I didn't know what it was going to look like or anything, but I knew that I wanted to do something. And so that's kind of when I started trying to work at it. So I had like a bunch of different Instagram accounts, hated them, felt so much comparison, blocked everyone that I knew, then deleted it after I barely got to 100 followers because it was just too much work, right? And I think that that's probably the hardest thing that I have experienced when going through creating the business is the comparison and focusing on the numbers. Everyone says not to focus on the numbers, but you can't stop yourself from focusing on the numbers if it just happens, right? So I try not to, but of course, I see people who started around the same time as I did and have a few thousand followers, and I have 500 on Instagram, right? Or like I have a friend who has like a good few thousand followers on YouTube and Instagram, right? And I can't help but compare myself, or I can't help but be like, well, okay, like I should be able to do that, right? It takes time. It's a process. And so I think that the biggest thing for me that is difficult in establishing the business was comparison and patience. And it still is. So yes, Eunoia is a business. It's an LLC now. It has been established. It is legally recognized. Awesome. I am so grateful for it. And I still really, really struggle with the comparison there and with being like, well, okay, yeah, we're legally recognized. Yeah, it's a business. Yeah, but like, So yeah, the biggest thing is just being really hard on myself. I do take breaks. Like I said, I don't have Instagram on my phone. I have to really set myself boundaries because I am really, really hard on myself about it. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. But yes, with everything that you do come challenges. And that is the biggest challenge of having a business is you see the people around you, you see what other people are doing, and you think, why can't I be doing that? And on the other side of that, I think I've mentioned this before, but on the other hand, I do too when I'm meeting someone new or when, I'm making a new friend or something, I kind of get scared like, okay, well, what are they going to think of me when they see my Instagram and realize I have, I'm a YouTuber, I'm an influencer, I've got a podcast, like what are they going to think, right? I got a lot of self-doubt. I'm very hard on myself. And that's kind of why I do it in the first place, is to continue doing what I love, even though I'm scared. I can't lie. Yeah. I started this from nothing. I started this not knowing at all what I was going to be doing with it. I tried a million different things and I put it out there and people see all of the fails that I make. People see all the mistakes, the YouTube video that goes up and flops, the time I put question boxes up and no one decides to respond that time. And, when I say, okay, we're going to try this new thing and then I never end up doing it because I decided it's not going to work. Like, I really put myself out there and I make mistakes. And so it does have a lot of fear with it, but I love it. It is, Eunoia is not just this community, but it's also like one of the biggest things that I have done for my mental health and just for my growth that has helped me so much. So no, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And even though it brings a lot of challenges, it's also brought some really incredible lessons for me. So yeah, if you are thinking about starting a business, just start. Like, just do it. Just create it. Because that was one of the difficult struggles for me at the very beginning was I was like, well, I need to get everything perfect, right? I see everyone else doing everything perfectly. No. Eventually I just kind of got up and I decided, okay, I'm just going to start. I'm just going to do it. And I love it. And it somehow has become this thing right here, this incredible new brand, this incredible place where I feel so safe. And people saw me fail along the way, right? I created it through the authenticity that like, yeah, this is me. And yeah, I do make mistakes and I fail. And people have really learned to love it for what it is and to recognize that. And I was terrified of that at first. And now it's like one of the things about the community that I value the most. So yeah, it's hard. I still struggle with it, but I love it. In your experience, how do you deal with emotions that you're unfamiliar with? I'm really good at having emotions I'm unfamiliar with. My previous counselor and I would joke about this all the time because that is just how I am. And sometimes joking about it is helpful. Not too much, but like joking about it a little bit is helpful because it lightens the mood a little bit. And also, I have OCD-like tendencies when it comes to things like rumination. So the best thing for me when I'm dealing with a new emotion is to sit down and practice radical acceptance and just being like, okay, I feel different. I do not like this feeling. And this is the reality. To just really sit down and like look at it objectively and be like, okay, what is the reality right now? Like the reality is I feel really uncomfortable and I don't know what I'm feeling, right? And I'll just sit down and accept it and be like, okay, that's what's happening right now. Because I get so stuck in my head. I'm like, what am I feeling? I need to fix this. Why is this happening? What did I do? Like, what can I, next time, what do I do? This and that. Like, I like to have a pattern to everything. That is why I am in neuroscience and economics, science and math. Like I am such an analytical person that it is sometimes, like usually in my everyday life, I'm fine. But when I'm struggling, I like to have everything figured out. And I like to have it like an equation. Like, oh, I did this morning, which caused this emotion to come up, which caused this to not happen, which caused this, which equals I don't feel good, right? No, life just happens. Sometimes you just have a bad day, or sometimes you just deal with some emotions that are unfamiliar. To sit down and really be like, okay, I don't get it and I don't like it. And why did my thing turn off? Oh, yes. So I forgot where I was, but basically with these emotions, I just try my best to accept them, to sit down and really be like, okay, I don't feel great right now, and I'm going to do my best to just keep going, to remember that this emotion was there, because trying to figure out the emotion in the moment, it's not going to help. You know, if you're like, yes, you can have coping skills, like you can have healthy skills, but like if you're trying to figure out what the emotion is, it doesn't always help. And that is different for everyone. So if it helps for you, that's awesome and great. But if it doesn't, don't push yourself to try and figure it out. And instead, what I really need to do is I just distract myself, and then I'll come back to it later or in counseling and be like, yeah, I was feeling this, and we'll think about it in a more productive way and trying to figure it out there. It's honestly the best advice I've got there, because I struggle with the same thing. So if you figure it out, let me know, please. And then one of the last questions, I think I answered most of them. One of the last questions is how to set boundaries. So again, I kind of talked about this one in the conversation about dealing with toxic situations, but I do think that boundaries are important, even if it's not a toxic situation, and you just need to set some boundaries. And for me, the thing that has helped the most is to not engage, to recognize that you need space and that that's okay, to be honest and clear. And yes, again, to not engage. You know, sometimes people will completely respect the fact that you need to set boundaries, and a lot of times they might not. A lot of times if you need to set a boundary, it's probably because they're not respecting those boundaries in the first place, right? So to explain the situation, but also practice some non-engagement there and be like, okay, you know, here's the situation, and if it gets heated, if there's a lot of emotions, to not let yourself act out on those. I am usually pretty good, but I, you know, when someone is being rude to me, I try so hard, you know, I try so hard to not be rude back, because that's what you want to do. What you want to do is yell. What you want to do is be like, you suck, you know, you don't want to take the mature approach, because let's be real, who does, right? But in the long run, it's going to be what is the most effective, and it's going to be what makes you feel better. If I can look back on an icky situation, even if it doesn't get resolved, but I can still look back on it and be like, hey, I'm happy with how I responded, then I did my job. That's, I guess, my mindset there. I mean, that doesn't mean that you can't be assertive. You can be clear. You can state what you need and what you want and what you're not getting, right? But I think really, for me, when I'm setting boundaries, is I have to look in not just the moment, not just the emotions I'm feeling then, but I have to really look back and be like, okay, how do I want to be able to look back on this situation in what I could control in the moment, and how do I want to be able to control that now? And yeah, but setting boundaries in the first place is being able to just recognize that you need to set a boundary and then doing it. Like, it's terrifying. You're never going to feel ready to set a boundary, and you're going to question it. You're going to question it a lot. But if you feel like you might need to set a boundary, you probably do. It's the hard truth. So to kind of be like, okay, you know what, here's the reality, and how can I do this in the best way that I am going to be able to feel good about myself? And if you continue to engage with it, even after you say you're going to set a boundary, that's not really boundaries. And then also working on yourself after setting that boundary, so then you don't continue to ruminate on it as much or focus on it as much, and then you're able to really heal from it and move forward. It's my biggest thing. So I think that's it. It's my biggest thing. I think that's it for all the questions that I'm going to go through right now. Make sure to subscribe. I would love to do this more often, to answer your questions. And I hope that this is a little bit more of a helpful kind of get to know me, get to just have a conversation without it being a podcast. Like, here is how you do a certain thing, right? And I hope that it can be a little bit more low-key and chill right there. And let me know if you guys like this so I can do it more often. And yeah, I'll see you next time.